Welcome to Against All Oddities, the podcast about three brothers coming to terms with the oddly true and the truthfully odd. Today's episode is called Punt. Why? What's that mean? Well, without going too much into detail, we, the three brothers, tragically lost a close member of our family, and the episode that we had recorded and planned to release for our November episode had some subject matter that seems a little inappropriate to talk about in light of this terrible loss, let alone for us to joke about while we grieve as a family. So we're punting. We're punting that episode that we had recorded into the future, and are instead bringing you a little shorty episode to fill the silence. Basically, in this episode, we each talk briefly about something paranormal that we've been thinking about recently. Tim talks about scary ants. Chris talks about an old book, and Nate recounts a hilarious story with copious amounts of bathroom humor to end with a little bit of levity during a very sad time for us. With that said, this is Against All Oddities.
Hey, let's bring it in again. Welcome to Against All Oddities. We talk about weird, paranormal, crazy stuff, just things we find interesting. Our November episode is going to be tabled until February because of there's a family emergency where it's just not the best time.
So to release the one that we were going to release, it just seemed like incorrect. So we will release that our November episode, which we recorded a couple weeks ago. We'll release that probably in January, February. So we're gonna do something a little different.
We're gonna go off the cuff, just brief little 1 to 2 minute rants, and Nate has a little bit of a story. It's gonna be a quick episode, minimal editing, minimal fun, just to have November feed the Against All Oddity hunger pains that everybody might have, or scratch that Against All Oddity itch that you might be theming for November. But I am youngest brother Tim,
middle brother Chris, right over here,
Nate,
as always.
Okay, so a couple things too. Housekeeping. So we made some coins. The coins I made are really shitty, but I'd like to send some out to some people. The Doom Generation has requested one on Blue Sky, which we are on. Find us.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
So I'll send them out to them. Also, the Witches Talking Tarot Ladies have not asked for one, but I feel like we should send them one. Also, the Neatcast Boys. We are going to do a December rant, the 12 rants of Christmas. We are actually recording one with them here shortly, so catch us over on the Neatcast at some point in December. So I'll be sending them some coins too. I'm also going to try to make some more, so if you want one, email wizard@dorfview.com, or just
tell us a story or something. Yeah, give us a little razzle dazzle, whatever that means to you, and we'll probably send you a coin.
We'll send you something. Maybe I'll send you one of my shitty coins. Maybe I'll send you a good one. I'm still making them and practicing. Also,
by making coins, we should say that we have a little forge. We're like hand casting coins in a mold that we made. Anyway, continue.
They don't look great. Some of them do, but
some of them do.
I put in silver in another one, and it looks awesome. But silver is really expensive to make, so I was doing copper, and some of them are good, some of them are whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm gonna do my brief little story. The mummies, the alien mummies out of South America.
Tell me what that is. I don't know what that is.
Then they're calling them the Nazca mummies, and there's a congressional presentation.
This is the cake thing.
They're not fucking cake.
Yeah, but just that like basically that like sums up everything you're about to say.
like a month ago, there's a gentleman that presented. There's it was supposed to be a UAP hearing, but it was not. It was a non-human intelligence body presentation, and the problem is he was just like, hey, check it out, like, here's your disclosure, boom, it's fucking bodies, and they were small. They're like maybe less than 2 feet. They are skinny, and they look so stupid.
I think they're pretty cool.
They look
pinatas. Similar to another Russian weird,
right? But so there's a Russian video that came out of a couple years ago. These teenagers found an alien body that 2 days later they came out and said, just kidding, we made it out of chicken bones, it's not real. But if you look at it, it looks exactly like the mummies. But and I'm pretty sure the Russian like deep state was like, hey, you need to retract your statement about finding this body. But the video is easily found. Just look up Siberian alien body and it pops up. Well, maybe we can post a link. But the problem is I feel like they look too stupid that when people prove that they're real, nobody's going to believe it anyway, which
that's what I'm saying. I think it's it's pretty smart to make something look stupid because it's like hiding in plain sight.
They did it. That's the thing. They weren't even made. They look like ET. They look like tiny, stupid little dolls. And they have been CT scanned. They have been MRI'd. They have been studied in hospitals by many professional people that have no bias towards them being real. And they cannot debunk these. They truly seem like a non-human intelligence that is living among us and have for many, many years. And Nate actually shared a video recently of the natives from the area where these are found. And in the podcast, they're like, "Do you know what?" And it's in not in English. I don't know if it's Quechuan or Spanish or whatever.
Portuguese.
The pardon my ignorance, but the podcasters were talking to the two natives saying, what's an alien to you? Are these aliens? And they're like, we don't know that word. And then they showed them the picture of the Nazca mummies, and they're like, oh no. And they had a different word for that. And those are ants. Those are the ants. And you don't mess. They're very dangerous.
They live underground. And
if you mess with them, they take your spirit underground.
Yeah, it's so good. It's actually really, it's worth finding that. Maybe we'll post that on in our notes because it's a really great clip. I would play it now, but it's in Spanish and it's subtitled, so most of our audience won't understand that. So, but anyway, I'll put the link in the notes. It's a good video.
But what I'm getting is, it's not just aliens. We have had disclosure of a non-human intelligence that has the ability to fuck you up, to just take your spirit, which to us we might describe it as consciousness, underground. And what that means, it could mean anything. But they're small enough to live in the caves and these places where they've been found and mummified or whatever, and they've been around long enough that they could have been like deified like many years ago, or like found in an ancient text. Or if they are the ones controlling these UAPs, they have the ability to control consciousness or items or objects in ways that we do not understand. We have been disclosed this, and nobody gives two shits because somebody turned them into a cake, and they did a really good job.
That's the psyop. Like, that was the CIA made that cake. That's why they were able to do it.
They had the cake ready to go. That video came out the day the disclosure is, and the only way that would happen if they were already baking that cake.
That's a team of specialized government agents making that cake.
There are cake fuckers all over the place. You can't trust
Nate, that might
anymore.
mean something you don't think it means in a way that you don't.
Yeah, in fact, I can confirm, Nate, that there are in fact cake fuckers, but we're gonna. There are.
That
was some of the government's best men making that cake.
Here's the problem with it, and I think this is true for everything, and it's similar to, other, character people that come out with disclosures. This guy there's a guy, his partner is in jail currently. The same guy who bought or smuggled out the Inca mummies, alien mummies, to Mexico. The guy that did that, his partner was arrested and is in jail for using a small, mummified Native American body and trying to pass that off as an alien. There's also the small ones he tried with a larger, much weirder looking alien that came back. All the bones were sawed off in places, and it was just kind of put together, and it was white and looked very similar. I forgot the name of that one. It was called Rosa or something. So this is the third attempt, it seems like, that he's come up with, hey, look at these things. And there's a video of the grave robbers. These supposedly were discovered by grave robbers, and they have a video, a cell phone video of these things with gold jewelry on and stuff.
And devil's advocate here. That guy maybe never got access to these bodies, and he couldn't, and so he was trying to fabricate it to bring them to light. Maybe that's his but I can't defend this guy because he also sells supplements. And
Yeah,
as I have
it's
said
like
before,
red flag.
right, it's he is the worst person to bring these to light, which pisses me off more that nobody can debunk these. He finally got a hold of the real ones. There's like 20 of them now. It's not just two. And
Really? I didn't know there's 20.
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
there's
a
like
lot.
21 of them or something. And this
I don't
guy,
have time for Reddit. You guys are my Reddit like connection.
Yeah.
this guy is such a fucking douchebag that he's the worst person to disclose anything, but he's spearheading it. But it's now that there's some legitimacy behind it, we're fucked. We're never going to be taken seriously with this stuff.
Who was the guy, the first Area 1 guy? I forgot his name. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, I tap out. That's mine.
Yeah, that was great. We're keeping it
Bob
short.
Lazar. Bob Lazar.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Bob Lazar.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
talk about him a lot.
Yeah. Sorry, brain fart.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you're following it. You're one of the few passionate cake aliens out there, and I'm glad you're out there. I'm glad you're doing the Lord's work.
Chris, your turn.
All right.
What were you gonna say, Tim? That was a serious face.
I said they're not cake.
I know they're not cake. I'm just trying to get your goose. Yeah, so I was thinking, we were kind of last minute kind of throw some paranormal stuff, and I was thinking, I had a conversation on Instagram with longtime listener and good friend of the show, Andy, was asking for book recommendations kind of towards spooky season, and I was like, you know what, no one knows about, no one reads, but I think is a great book, which I will quickly describe as 1800s X-Files. So before I tell you about that, would you not be interested in hearing about a psychic detective in the 1800s? This was written in like the late 1800s, right at the turn of the century, published in 1926, but it was about a psychic detective solving different esoteric crimes, and they're small shorts, like a detective series. It's exactly like the X-Files, but only 100 years earlier. But anyway, another thing that makes it great, the book is, I'll just reveal now, called The Secrets of Dr. Taverner. What makes this book great
is this under the guise that it's nonfiction?
This is a nonfiction, but that's where I'm going.
Okay. Yeah.
It was written by Dion Fortune, also known as Violet Firth. Violet Firth was an occultist. So she actually ran the Golden Dawn before Crowley. Crowley and her were like mortal enemies. And she quit the Golden Dawn and started another occult order called the Fraternity of the Inner Light. But so she's like a British occultist from the 19th century. She died in the early, like 1946, kind of like right after World War II. Born in 1890. But anyway, if you don't know much about, for our occult readers out there, she's a very popular writer. She's a very problematic writer in that her nonfiction gets a little nutto, and like a lot of these British writers from the 19th century, a little racist and a little kind of problematic. It's like reading Crowley, right? Like you just have to skip over some of that stuff. I will say none of that is in this work of fiction, but what's kind of great about it is I love fiction written by practicing occultists, because it's all like wink wink, not fiction. You know what I mean? And so the stories are great. I actually think Diane Fortune's a pretty good writer. She gets kind of shit on a lot, but I love a couple of her books. The fiction, I like her fiction more than her nonfiction. Her occult practices were a little crusty, a little on the Christian mystic side of things, but I really like her fiction. And there's a couple of them, but I really recommend this book. And again, I just want to use the words occult or X-Files from the 19th century. I mean, technically it was released in a series of small stories in 1920, but they were written prior to that, and they were clearly influenced by her time with the Golden Dawn. They're great. I mean, they're really great stories. So anyway, that's something I wanted to bring up. Had you guys heard about this book?
No, I have not.
Have I not talked about it? I thought it was pretty good. Meredith and I were like, if we had more sensibility, time, and business acumen, we would convert them to a screenplay, because it is ripe for a release, a period piece, kind of Sherlock Holmes, but like actually specifically occult based.
So you're saying Against All Oddities is now, could we have a little animated beginning thing to the movie if we're like gonna be part of
Can we just take the PBS mystery masterpiece theater thing and just kind of like tweak it?
Yes,
Edward
we can.
Gorey perfected it. We just gotta tweak it a little.
Except it'll be a little like, more our vibe.
Yeah, our vibe. But anyway, I was just trying to think of something, that I hadn't thought about in a while. And I think because of this baby, I'm not reading anymore, and I really miss reading. I just don't have the time to do it.
I'm reading Calvin and Hobbes at the moment, the anthology.
Oh, the comic, not the
comic.
Actual...
It's so good because I have like literally next to my bed 18 books that I've read, like half of it, and then I get bored and ADHD away. For whatever reason, I can just run through like 30 pages of Calvin and Hobbes every night before bed, like nothing.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
If we're going on books, what's ironic is I'd have to turn Practical Astral Projection from Alicia, but if you look at the characters on it, they look like the aliens that I was talking about.
They also look like it. Yeah, interesting.
And that looks like, how old is that book? What's it from?
Forever ago.
Anyway,
no, I just ordered Gene Hart's Beyond Dreaming, and I've spoken with Gene Hart like a bunch of times on some conferences. He's really cool at discovering beyond the physical, so I'm looking forward to that. All right, you ready for my dumb thing?
Yeah, I want your
yeah.
You both had some actual stuff. I remember this from years ago, and it resurfaced when I was looking for a funny story to tell. And I'm just going to go right into it. And I've sent this to you guys, but it was probably like 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, I don't have that kind of retention.
Yeah. So this will be like a new one. So this following nightmare, I'm reading off of like celebritynetworth.com because I couldn't find the original. And so I'm just going to read the story where they're
I like to think that tab is currently always open on your computer.
Well, everything. Well, it's on my phone, and now I'm screwed for like whatever ads I'm going to get now are just going to be terrible. But this following nightmare is 100% fully verified true story. It happened to a very unlucky investment banker who asked to remain anonymous for obvious reasons. He submitted this story to the Twitter page Goldman Sachs Elevator, and that's where it first started coming around, right? So it is called the most embarrassing private jet flight of all time.
Oh my God.
No, I've read this.
No, you read it because Nate sent it. It's the funniest. It's
okay. No, all right, Nate. We're right. This is actually an awesome closer.
Yeah. No. So,
and before you start, Nate, I just want to say to the audience, you're fucking welcome.
It's funnier, I think, if you read it because you reread it as you go down. It's like, no.
And also, you're not expecting it to be funny when you're reading it. You're like, you laugh. Something when you read, sometimes it's like, oh, that's funny, but not laugh out loud funny. Like,
this was a viral email. This was like a viral email around my office a long time ago.
What kind of music goes with this? I'll figure it out.
You'll have to. This will be a fun one to figure out the sound effects for. But anyway, all right. The most embarrassing private jet flight of all time. Just over halfway through the flight, all the coffee in my stomach feels like it's percolating its way down into my lower intestine. I hunker down and try to focus on other things. What feels like an hour, but probably some more than 20 minutes passes. We then enter what turns out to be some pretty violent turbulence. With each bounce, I have to fight my body, trying not to shit my pants. 30 minutes to landing, maybe 45. I try to tell myself. Each jostle a gamble I can't afford to lose. I signal to the flight attendant, and she heads towards me. Excuse me, where's the bathroom? Because I don't see a door. I ask, well, still devoting considerable energy to fighting off what starts to feel like someone shook a seltzer bottle and shoved it in my ass. She looks at me bemused and says, well, we don't really have one per se. She continues, technically we have one, but it really is just for emergencies. Don't worry, we're landing shortly anyway. Let me get this out. All right. Whew. All right. I'm pretty sure this qualifies as an emergency, I managed to mutter through my grimace. I can see fear in her face as she points nervously to the back seat. The turbulence outside is especially by the cyclone that is ravaging it in my bowels. She points to the back of the plane and says, "There, the toilet is there." For a brief instant, relief passes over my face. She continues, If you pull away the leather cushion from that seat, it's under there. There's a small privacy screen that pulls up and around it, but that's it. At this point, I was committed.
It's because I'm just picturing this small private jet. And
No, he hasn't gotten to the privacy screen.
No, he just did. He just did.
Well, no,
he mentioned it. He mentioned it. All right. She had just lit the dynamite into my chest.
Wait, no, you have to reread that part.
You gotta.
Hold on, let me compose myself. All right, drink of water. All right. She had just lit the dynamite, and the mine shaft was set to blow. I'm sorry. All right, I'm done. All right. I turn to look where she was pointing, and I get the urge to cry. I do cry.
Dude, Nate.
I got it. Hold on. I got it.
Do you need to tap out? Do you need one of us to read it?
Yeah, we can do that. Here, I'll set it on. Hold on.
Yep. I turn to look where she is pointing, and I get the urge to cry. I do cry, but my face is so tightly clenched it makes no difference. The toilet seat is occupied by the CFO, i.e. our fucking client. Our fucking female fucking client. Up until this point, no one has observed my struggle or my exchange with the flight attendant. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That's all I could say as I limb torture like Quasimodo impersonating a penguin. Okay, tell me to take over. Do it.
Okay, and I begin my explanation. Of course, as soon as my competitors see me talking to the CFO, they all perk up to find out what the hell I'm doing. Oh my god. Given my jovial nature and fun-loving attitude thus far on the roadshow, almost everybody thinks I'm joking. She, however, knows right away that I am anything but, and jumps up, moving quickly to where I had been sitting. I now had to remove the seat top. No easy task when you can barely stand upright, or getting tossed around like a hood rat at a block party, and are fighting against gastrointestinal Mount Vesuvius. I managed to peel back the leather seat top to find a rather luxurious-looking commode with a nice cherry or walnut frame. It had obviously never been used ever. Why this moment of clarity came to me, I do not know. Perhaps it was this realization that I was going to take this toilet's virginity with a fury and savagery that was an abomination to its delicate craftsmanship and quality. I imagined some poor Italian carpenter weeping over the violently soiled remains of his once beautiful creation. The lament lasted only a second as I was quickly back to concentrating on the tiny muscle that stood between me and molten hot lava. I reached down and pulled out the privacy screens with only seconds to spare before I erupt. It's
Nate,
an
take over.
Nate's
gonna take over. You take a breather. Take a breather.
It's
Start
an
over, Nate.
I reach down and pull up the privacy screens with only seconds to spare before I erupt. It's an Alka-Seltzer bomb. Nothing but air and liquid spraying out in all directions. A Jacksonic masterpiece. The pressure now reversed. Damn it. Oh. I feel like I'm gonna have
I'll take over. I feel like I'm going to have to. I feel like I'm going to have a stroke. I push so hard to end the relief, the torment, sublime relief. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. My apologies do nothing to drown out the hell. My apologies do nothing to drown out the heinous noises that seem to carry on and reverberate through this small cabin indefinitely. It's not that bad. If that's not bad enough, I have one major problem. The privacy screen stops right around the shoulder of the phone. Tim, take over.
I am sitting there, a disembodied head in the back of the plane on a bucking bronco for a toilet, all while looking at my colleagues, competitors, and clients directly in the eyes. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain briefly comes to mind. I literally could reach out with my left hand and rest it on the shoulder of the person adjacent to me. It was virtually impossible for him or any of the others, and by others I mean high-profile business partners and clients, to avert their eyes. They squirm and try not to look, inclined to do their best to carry on and pretend as if nothing out of the ordinary was happening, that they weren't sharing a stall with some guy crapping his intestines out, releasing smelly, sweaty shame at 100 feet per second. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. That's all the ashamed, disembodied head can say, over and over again. Not that it mattered.
Oh my God, it's so good.
That is
so
probably
good.
the funniest story on the planet.
All right.
With that, I hope everybody has a good November. We will see you in December with a full-length episode edited.
Yeah, it's our Christmas special, which we'll talk about more at that time. Yeah, stick around. Thanks, everyone.